I'm very used to my dad used to say, my dad is
So, good afternoon, friends.
Good afternoon. Hello, Joe.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. Very nice to have all of you here. Cheers. We're welcoming our guests, all of our guests, who just joined us in the last hour. So, welcome everyone. We're here to start this paragraph, this phase, the next couple of hours. We're gonna hear some stories. The theme of our talk in the next couple of hours will be on struggles to find me, a place to call home. Within that, three very brave individuals that happened to be, all of them friends of mine, very proud to have you all as friends, who agreed to come here and share their wonderful experiences with us. Before we start, I'm going to give a brief introduction on each one of those wonderful individuals. I'm going to start with Ziva. Ziva Gorani, a Kurdish Syrian queer feminist. Ziva started her journey as a humanitarian worker soon after the Syrian Revolution in 2011, as a response to the humanitarian crisis. However, her Kurdish queer identity, refugee status, and feminist beliefs opened her eyes to the value of social activism in the Middle East. She hopes while she's in Canada, she will use her voice for the betterment of humanity through community interventions. Ziva worked with many international media platforms, such as The Intercept, Vocative, Al Jazeera English, National Radio of France, CBC, NBT, and others to highlight the depth and the resilience of the queer community in the Middle East against multi-layers of discrimination, which was the main reason behind her resettlement in Canada, after being exposed and targeted as a vocal activist. She's an international public speaker, nominated for Everyday Political Citizen Award in Canada, and Waterfront Award 2018, artist, painter with published artwork in North America. There's Ziva. Tony, our friend from Barbados. Tony is a Barbadian at heart who has recently relocated to Canada so that he can live his best life. A former professional actor, a teacher, a writer, and a video editor in his home country. Tony now navigates the ins and outs of Canadian living as he begins to build a life for himself here in Toronto. Welcome, Tony. Haya. Haya is a former stateless person. You're stateless no more, right? A former stateless person with Palestinian roots, a queer woman and proud of it, agnostic person with long academic experience in the Abrahamic religions, and a positive nihilist. Welcome, Haya. It's my pleasure to be facilitating this talk in the next couple of hours. We're going to start these wonderful 2 hours with just whatever you feel comfortable sharing your experience with us, probably a bit of reflection on how things were back at home, the trip here to Canada, and the very few days couple of weeks, and then whenever you feel comfortable sharing with us, before we try to get some questions from the audience so that we can make this an interactive session. Please feel comfortable at any moment if you would like to take a break, water, anything. You're our guest before and after. Just remember, we're great pleasure, privilege to have all of you here. So, Ziva, you would like to kickstart us? Thank you.
Any kind of direct question? Is there a question, a direct question, or just the experience back at home?
We're going to do the Q&A after we're done with this.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for this lovely gathering and for the invitation to be in this space. I hope you're enjoying this lovely weather. It's one of the few warm days we'll have until it gets too hot. So, I think I'm going to start by talking about the early journey when I was very, very young, growing up with a dad who suffers from clinical depression and bipolar. And as a trans girl, that's like not a rainbow world for me. So I know that I'm a different girl, that I'm not just a girl, that I'm a different girl from even my peers. But trying to fit that with a father who wants me to be a copy with him, specifically talking about me when he saw me, wanted to really root a lot of things from his personality and transfer it to me. So I think my first oppressions started when I was really young, as a 5-year-old girl, and trying to be me, but I was not allowed to be me. But at the same time, I was trying to just please my dad because he just wanted me to be him. In the same context, I would say that my dad really exposed me to his big non-Indian library, and through that I learned a lot about the historical events, specifically talking about what happened in World War I and the World War II and all of that. So I specifically talk about this story to talk about because when I was reading the stories about what was happening at that time in the 40s, I did not really actually try to understand and wrap my head around what it's like to be living under a war. During that time also, exposing to the community as a girl, I learned a lot of the values of and a lot of the discrimination labels through my lived experience as a Kurdish girl. Because I remember my first contact with my Kurdish identity was with my first grade teacher when she slapped me on the face because I spoke Kurdish in the class. And I knew then that my Kurdish identity is not allowed out of home. And so navigating that, and navigating how I can be Kurdish and how I cannot be Kurdish. And for a while, I was happy that people would not know that I'm Kurdish because that would mean that I'm safe. I learned sexism because of how people look at me that I'm feminine and I'm girly, because that means that I'm nothing and I'm not good enough. And it doesn't matter what I do, that I cannot please anyone and I cannot be good to anyone. I learned what it's like to be different with my queerness and how I identify with my queer identity. And this difference was nothing but I want to say just sadness and a lot of pain that I was keeping it to myself and internalizing it. And I kept growing up with a lot of those labels. And I think the biggest shock for me when the Syrian Revolution started in 2011, when I knew, and I want to talk today about that 2011 more than any time else, because I want to specify that I wanted to be part of the revolution. I wanted to just walk in the street and demonstrate, but I was not allowed. I was not allowed by my peers, I was not allowed by my community, and I was not allowed by my family, because, again, my queer is not valid in the revolution. And that was one of the things that actually caused a lot of my anger, that I wanted to express, and I believe in the revolution, I believe in what does it mean to shout out for your freedom. But again, I was not able to express that. And I think in 2013, when I got a chance to work in the humanitarian sector, that was kind of my relief. And I felt like I can be part of it. I could not be part of it in a political level, but I can be part of it on like really being able to help people. And like, it doesn't matter if the people love me or not, if they accept how I look or not. I was more of an androgynous when people was taking me. Soon after I started, I think the feedback from the families that I was trying to help out, we don't want this person to give us food, or to give us any aid, or give us anything. We do not expect anything from this person. And I think one of the hardest moments was for me when it was actually at that time when one of my relatives was managing the organization, and he told me that you can't go outside of the office. I mean, you want to work, you can work inside of the office. And I would say that I said, like, I can't be, but I would still want to work inside of the office. And I tried my best, and I was always consuming myself, consuming that what is like, and I can keep neglecting and keep being harsh on myself and finding excuses for people, but never finding excuses for myself. But eventually, when things went even shadier by the end of 2014, as someone was living in Aleppo and trying to,
Pull it back from her mouth, please.
Pull it back a little bit.
Yeah. Now try.
okay, is that good?
No, that's right.
I don't think we
Okay.
need
Some
it.
distance, like 10, 15 centimeters. Away from the
That
mic.
good?
That's better.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, I would say the decision for me to leave Syria for good in 2014, it came after a lot of fear of walking out of the home, because at every checkpoint, it doesn't matter what the checkpoint belongs to, I was not accepted at that checkpoint, and I was always a case for them to take me on the side of the road and keep interrogating me and keep making me kind of the entertainment of the day. And I knew that one of those times I will not be able to make it, and I will not get back home. And for me, I knew that I had to leave Syria for good. And I left, and the night that I left, I did not actually know I'm going to be leaving. It just happened at the dawn, and I packed my stuff in my slippers and my pajamas, and I kept like 48 hours for people to start to smuggle me out of the road, because I was too suspicious. And having blonde hair, green eyes in Syria, everyone's the kind of like case of interrogation. After 48 hours, I went to Turkey, and I really had no clue what it's gonna be for me in my future. I honestly had nothing but my slippers and my pajamas, and I had some Syrian money on me, like I was trying to manage and where to go and what to do. After that, I kept working with an organization, and started right away working from there, as I kept working in the humanitarian sector. But I think that anger went with me, and I wasn't able to express the anger, but I was able to always express myself. And I felt that was my little victory when I was walking into the humanitarian sector, with really being, I consider myself bold, like when I was walking in any humanitarian sector and talk about my queerness and talking about queer issues in any of the setting. And most of the time I'll be mocked, and I'll be we'll hardly be able to deliver food to the people under the bombing. And I was presenting a lot of very advanced ideas I know I can understand. But that put me on the road of actually what I believe that my activism career started. And I started when I was getting asked to do any kind of work, it was for me to present that resilience and that work of what I believe in, and what a community can do when they're just giving a little bit of a chance. When I was giving just a little bit of space, a lot of people like me, what they can do. Well, I would say that not all the cases with the media was taken as much as I wanted to be taken, because a lot of the media wanted to show you as the victim, and want to make you the case that people want to cry on. And that was what I felt like my cause is all failing together. So I shut down a lot of media. because of that. And I focused on my resettlement after I received a lot of death threats and I was being chased publicly in Turkey for what I was like being out about. I came here to Canada in 2016 after 4 months of resettlement, which is one of the fastest cases I went of resettlement here to Canada. I came here with a promise that it's going to be a new life. Little that I knew that, like, being trans here in Canada, it still takes a lot of us energy and power to wake up every day and be you and be proud of yourself. I came here, no family, no connections, no job again, and I had to navigate a whole big, even like stronger bureaucratic system and try to navigate that through the health, through my even I don't say the resettlement, but I would say like my resettlement is just I had to do it all on my own. And they all counted on my English and how I was looking tough on the outside, but no one was actually looking at how much vulnerable I am on the inside. I wouldn't say that I didn't pass it. I thankfully passed that phase, but it was one of the harshest phases of my life because I had no one around me and I had no support except memories from back at home that I would like really go and resort to when I wanted, and I felt a little bit of home within myself, and those memories kept me kind of like going on, and whether they were bad memories or good memories, I'll keep reminding myself that, girl, you could really get through a lot of shit, you can get through this. And I was always promising myself. After a year and a half in Canada, I've done a lot of good things for myself, and I'm still doing a lot of good things for myself, but I wouldn't say that I'm strong. I am healing. And it is time for me finally to unpack all of the trauma that happened in my life, all of the stories that I had to bear, all of the pain that I couldn't even express, that I can actually now be able to speak about it and express it. And tell people what it's like if someone gives you a hug and gives you that love and compassion and tells you that it's going to be all right, what kind of impact that will create in our life. I would say there is a power of a hug. Power of a hug for me is stronger than anything, than any kind of a sad day. And for me, it is my culture and I have it every day when I wake up and I go to work. I make sure I hug everyone in the office. Probably because I don't want to be hugged. But honestly, my thing I would say that sometimes this connection that you build, it will actually tell someone that you might have a bad day, but you'll get through it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll do the question and answer, because we're done with listening to all of you for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
This is the plan, if you're comfortable with
Yeah.
that. We will be having an hour and 45 minutes.
Okay.
So the suggestion is to have 15, 20 minutes each, and then we can
Okay.
open the floor for questions. Is that something that you're comfortable with?
It's back to me.
We're going to listen to all
Oh,
of you,
okay,
and then
right.
we're going to take questions. Sorry.
I'm not sure if I need the mic. Yeah.
You don't want to.
So you can hear me like that? It's okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Not everybody.
Somebody said no. No. Okay, sorry. When I want to share my story, I have like a few main dates in my head. Like 4 of them, they are the main things. They were like main points to change my life forever. The first date, it was 1994, the 1st of April, when my dad was heading to his dentist to do a surgery. He was just like spring day, maybe warm. He just said goodbye to us and just left the building. While he was heading to the dentist, an armed guy, he came to him and they started like a little fight. This fight has a long story. It's about the Palestinian-Israeli conflicts. It's about my dad's attitude to not like go with the flow, to not be like, because in the early of 90s, like many Palestinian leaders, they start to be like corporation leaders. They start to use their power in a bad things, in a bad ways. But my dad was not like that. He was the one who is refusing to do all this bad stuff like money laundering, fake dollars, I don't know. Like there were many ways to use the Palestinian issue in a very bad way. So at the end, because he was so stubborn, they sent someone, and that one he decided to like shoot to my dad to empty his gun in his body, 9 bullets, and immediately my dad was like dead, and they're all living in Tunis. It was in Tunisia, North Africa, away from home for both of my dad and my mom. As a result of that, I was only 2 years old, so my mom was in a very big trouble because she was kind of a single mom, a widow. At the same time, she has these 3 kids, and she needs to escape for her life and for her girls' lives. So she decided to go back to Syria, where is her family. Because my mom, she is Palestinian Syrian, my dad, he is Palestinian Egyptian, and actually they were met in the war in Lebanon in the 80s. So all the history of my family is about wars. At the end, she just decided to go back to Syria. It's more safe for us, more safe for her, to be away from the PLO and away from any conflicts between the all Palestinian parties. As a result, it was like living in 2 different environments. Out of the house, I was trying to be just a normal Syrian girl, as my mom chose to not live in the camp. Like she chose to live in an area, it's full of Syrian, like there's no much of Palestinian Syrian around us. So I've been raised as any normal Syrian girl, as a Sunni girl. My mom wasn't that religious person, but just moving to Syria and to that area, specific in the side or the countryside of Damascus, she had to do as any family in that area to send me to the mosque. So for 10 years, I've been raised as a conservative Sunni girl. I had to memorize Quran by heart. I had to memorize many of Sharia and many other science, religious science. I've been raised to not ask any questions. Like just do your duties and ask later. If you want to ask more questions, go memorize another chapter from Quran and you will be better. That was my religious side. The other side, inside the house, I remember many times just being sitting on the floor and listening to my mom's stories about my dad, about the Palestinian issue, about these golden days for her, about the time they've been chased by all the secret intelligence agencies around the world, escaping from country to country. For 10 years, they actually moved maybe 12 times. And the reason every time to leave, just like they were being chased by even like Mossad, like the Israeli part, or even another Palestinian part, they were chasing them because they have very unpleasant attitude toward the Palestinian issues, and no one or anyone else wasn't happy about that. So yeah, inside home will be Palestinian family, talking our accent, proud about ourselves, but at the same time will be like, don't tell anyone about this story. So this story is just like stay at home, because she knows once one of us will talk about our dad's history, it will be trouble, because Syria, the Assad regime, is not a friend with the PLO, it's not a friend with Arafat, so it will be an issue for us to expose our political orientation. So it was a double life in many ways. Then the second main date in my life, it was November 2010. It was me, my mom, and the doctor. And he was showing us some X-ray and MRI, and he turned to me and said, it might be a cancer. We are not sure about that, but it might be a cancer in your head. And I looked at him. I was only 18 at that age. I was in my final year in high school, It's called baccalaureate, it's the French system in Syria. It was a very stressful year for me. I just want to do my best to succeed. It's like a stressful year for anyone in Syria, the baccalaureate. But for me, I spent the first semester just in hospitals, jumping from doctor to doctor, like having a second opinion about this MRI, is it cancer, is it not cancer, doing this all expensive tests and stuff. At the end they say, there is a mass, it's not cancer, it's harmless, I don't know what that is in English. But they say, don't worry, you can go back to real life. But that was too late, because the finals were just about in 2 months. I couldn't study. For sure, I felt that year was a shame in my family. Because Palestinian Syria, they are known to be all doctors, engineering, lawyers. Then me fell in the baccalaureate. I had to repeat it twice. But it is okay. It was a life-changing moment for me, because chasing by the ghost of cancer for almost 5 to 6 months, it was a result to just asking myself all these big questions about God, about my beliefs, about why did this happen, do I deserve to do that? At that point, I felt like God owed me, not I not owed God. Like, in the first place, he took my dad off me. Like, duh, you did that for me. Like, I'm already a good girl, why you are doing this all to me? So, since the age of 18, I've decided to leave Islam. I've decided to stop going to the mosque, because I couldn't find any answer to all these big questions I were asking during this dark time of just being afraid to be dead in any moment. That was 2010. 2012, December, that's another main date. It's the date when we had to flee from Syria. We fled to Egypt because, as I said, our house was in the countryside of Damascus. It was one of the first areas around Damascus to start revolution. Many march, many protests, many people, they all went out to the street. They are demanding freedom and many other civil rights. So the regime was so harsh with us, with our neighborhood, with the surrounding neighborhoods. So I saw by myself how the Syrian or the Assad soldiers would come to our neighborhood, knocking our doors, or even just breaking doors, taking men, taking youth men, kick them to death, or just shoot randomly, or taking girls. It was really dangerous phase to us. So we had to flee to Egypt after we'd been stuck in our neighborhood for a couple of months. There wasn't a way to go out because the regime was trying to just keep us in one circle, because it was only 10 minutes driving to downtown. That was too risky for him. Like, here there is revolution, here's like peace and love. So we were lucky to flee 2012 to Egypt. And at that moment, I found myself in a different situation where I have to work to live, especially when my mom and my other sister, they were dealing with their trauma in a very bad way, not leaving the house, depressed. All by sudden, from being the youngest girl in the family, the next month I was the one who had to work and feed my family. It was really harsh for me. Anyway, I stayed in Egypt for 9 months. It was really harsh. I don't remember many details about that time, because all I remember it was like 12 hours of working every day, not having any day off except Friday and Eid maybe, and that's it. Till the end, my mom, she made her efforts with the Tunisian embassy. She told them that I was born in Tunis and all my dad history in Tunis, and she succeeded with getting me a visa to Tunis. They didn't do anything extra. It was for them like, we made so huge effort just like to give you a visa to access our country. I moved by myself in 2013. When I arrived there, it seemed that there wasn't any official scholarship for me. It was just like being accepted in a university. But no financial aid, no housing, nothing. It was a huge shock for me. I told my mom, she was like, go back to Egypt. I was like, I can't. I tried with the Egyptian embassy, but they said once you leave a country, you are illegal, you can't go back. First 2 years into this were hell for me. I was by myself. I had to work. I had to study French because it's a Francophone country. I had to study English as well. I had to do many stuff by myself. There were times of extreme situation in many areas. There were times of experience what does it mean to be like hungry? What does it mean to like being 2 or 3 days just having a bucket of milk and dry bread? There were times of like experience how like to be cold in the winter. All my roommates, I remember they have 3 or 2 heavy blankets, while me just having the summer blanket they use for picnic. It was my only blanket at that time. I experienced everything. Hunger, cold, only have like very simple amount of money in your pocket and just walking downtown without any purpose. But at the same time, for me, it was my own revolution. Because I was at the end free, like my family wasn't around me. At that time, I took off hijab, and I was living as like kind of out queer. Like it was so extreme, but at the same time, I was so happy, like funny, freedom. After 2 years, my mom moved to Tunis, and stuff like a little bit changed. I had better work, everything, but at the same time I was working on my visa to Canada. And through these 4 years there was another date. It was 2014 when I first heard I love you from a girl. It was my first female love. It was so romantic. But it was like also love in the hardship time. It was in Arabic, there is a novel that says the love in the time of war or something like that. It was me. It's just like repeating my family history because they also met in war. So anyway, it was like history repeating for me. I moved to Canada last June, and since I came, I am trying my best to be me, to not give up everything I built to myself, to live as out queer, to live as out spiritual person. There was times I attended church because, of course, after 10 years of being very religious, like God was occupying a huge space in my life. Like I couldn't just give up on that and became like from extreme to extreme. So there were times where I attended church, where I studied theology, I studied Torah, I studied the New Testament, I studied many things, but at the end, I didn't like it. Especially when I moved here, it was the first time to hear in a church someone is talking in a negative way about queer people. My church, like the one who sponsored me, they are so homophobic, so it was a shock for me. Because in Middle East, when I used to attend the church, they will never talk about that because already in Middle East now, no one is happy about queers, so they were happy to, but here, no. And that's all my story.
Thank you.
Thank you.